I don't want my transcript. All right. So at least it'll be recorded. There will be a everybody will have access to the recording, and I'll send it out to you as well once this ends, so you have access to it, and then everybody else who is watching this right now or watching the recording, it'll either be mentioned in a meeting or I'll send it out in after action email.
Can people ask questions?
Yeah, you know what? If so depending on how much time we have left, because I have scheduled this from like 2 to 2:45. So if you get done early and people want to ask questions, totally up to you.
Okay, cool. Because I feel like when people ask questions, it just makes it a little bit better, more dynamic. We can answer it, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes
yeah,
questions helps a lot of people that are watching that
right.
didn't have the chance to ask the question, or they couldn't think of that question. So that helps too.
So how do you want to work it? Do you want to just start talking, and if people have questions, they can raise their hand, or do you want to allow time at the end?
Yeah, let's do that. Have raised their hand.
Okay, cool. All right. We'll give it just a minute or so. Thank you to everybody else who is showing up. I appreciate it. Sitting here with Dr. Micheal DiMarco, who is going to do a talk on the principles of healing. And before we actually get started, I'm just going to remind everybody else who's either watching this today or watching the recording. Usually what I do is a meditation the last Friday of the month. That's getting moved to next Friday. And then July 11th from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. we're going to do stretching and yoga with BB Davidman, who's done stretching before. That'll also be recorded, and then I have a few other things in July that I'm working on bringing everybody, but for the most part, I think we can actually start. And Michael, thank you very much for agreeing to join us and doing a talk. And I'll let you start. And if anybody has a question, has any question based on anything that he says, just raise your hand, and you can always call on somebody, or I can interject and let you know who has raised their hand.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for having me. Happy to be here. So for anyone that doesn't know, I know my bio is a little short. I'm Dr. Micheal DiMarco. I'm a chiropractor, but I'm also an entrepreneur. I started a supplement company called Shred Supplements. It was a pretty big supplement company on Instagram and stuff like that. It's mostly bodybuilding and fitness. But now I've had a practice for 10 years, worked with some of the top level professional UFC athletes, celebrities, some almost Olympic people. And what I found are that there's principles of healing that we don't really find in the main medical system. And I guess that's been kind of obvious over the past couple of years. And it's been very important that we need to understand these principles in order to properly heal ourselves. And so as a chiropractor, as alternative healthcare professional, a lot of what I do is in the alternative space. What we have is a different way of looking at healing versus the mainstream medical system. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's really good for a lot of things. Like if you break your leg or you're in a car accident, you got to go to the hospital. They will fix you. They will make sure you don't die. But when we're talking about wellness and we're talking about our health and longevity, just in our daily lives, we have to look at it with a different lens. So the typical medical system is really kind of like a fix-it care, like a patch care. Like they'll make sure that you don't die. But what we really need is corrective measures, things that are leading us and cultivating health on a daily basis in order to remain healthy. So we have these two different approaches, right? So we have one approach, which is very much looking at health from the outside in. And this is the way that most people think when it comes to health. We are trained to look at maybe there's a pill, a medication, a surgery, even a supplement or a diet, and that's what's going to fix us. But in my world and what I've seen, helping people with many problems, not just neck pain or back pain, multiple sclerosis, recovering from cancer treatments, all of that sort of stuff, resolving allergies, that true health comes from the inside out. And everybody knows this on a basic level, right? So when you get a cut and you have that cut, you don't tell that cut to do anything specific to heal. The body, there's an intelligence within it that heals that cut perfectly most of the time if everything's balanced, and it does what it needs to do. You don't have to do anything. And that's actually how all of healing works. All of healing works with this main principle where it happens from the inside out. So any disease that you've ever had, any symptoms that you might experience, those only occur because something within you is out of balance. And if we really want to heal it, we don't want to just put a patch on it. We have to balance ourselves from the inside out. So there's 3 ways that we can become out of balance. There's physical imbalances, where there might be a toxin, there might be a virus, there might be we might be missing something in our diet. We might have like a physical injury where there's a physical imbalance, a physical blockage from preventing ourselves from fully healing. There are mental blockages, right? So when I say mental, I don't mean just go to a psychiatrist and you're going to do talk therapy or change your beliefs and that's what's going to fix you immediately. What I mean is that 95% of who we are and what we're doing on a daily basis lies in our subconscious mind. It's happening unconsciously. So our beliefs and concepts create these unconscious patterns and programs that operate everything within us. So if we have a unfavorable unconscious program, or if you want to call it a belief, that will create an environment internally through different chemicals that our body releases and different neurotransmitters that is going to cause a disease, or it's going to cause, let's just call it a disease, or it's going to cause any kind of symptoms. And that's what I mean by mental. So what we have to do is mentally change those belief systems, the things that are underlying at our subconscious level, change those concepts to bigger concepts if we want to fix ourselves, if we want to cultivate health. And then we have the third place that these blockages can occur, which is kind of related to the mental, and these are from the emotions, right? So we have to maybe do some emotional healing because the body stores emotions within it. If you go and you grab maybe your upper trap, you might be able to feel like a little nodule that causes some pain, and that pain might be in that local area, or it might go to somewhere else. Our body stores emotions in the muscles. It stores emotions in the area between the muscles because it's all connected into our brain. So when we have these emotions that we're holding on to, they can our brain is going to kind of store them in different parts of our body, and they will cause trigger points and different things that prevent our movement, and that might cause a disease process as well. So if we want to fully heal, we have to work with all 3 of these. If we want to get the highest probability for results, we have to work on the physical, the mental, and the emotional level, because for a lot of people, we just don't know, like, what's going to be the strongest pull to get them better. So a lot of people might really respond really well to like a purely physical intervention, which might be a surgery, which might be like a physical therapy, it might be a drug even. And that works for a lot of people. But then there's a lot of people that have things that don't respond to any of that. And then they have these chronic disease and these chronic conditions for a really long time, and they end up owning it, and it becomes a part of their identity, and then they never get rid of it. And then there's some people that will go to do just work on the mental. They'll do affirmations, they'll go to psychiatrists, psychologists, and they'll work on their mental state. And that will help a large percentage of people, but it doesn't work for everybody. And then there's some people that will go and go emotional healing. They'll go also work with a psychiatrist, or they'll go and go to like a meditation retreat, or they'll go to a Reiki healer or do some like inner work, and that'll help a large percentage of people. But we don't always know what's going to be that kind of portal for somebody to step into their healing. So we have to look at interventions and things in our own lives that work on all three levels. So if you're going to a doctor for something, and they're doing something that's purely physical, like giving you a drug or doing a surgery, it's up to you to notice like how you're talking about what it is that they're diagnosing you with, how you're talking about the treatment. Are you owning it as a part of your identity? Are you leading yourself towards health, or are you leading yourself more towards disease? And an example of this would be, let's say we're talking about headaches. A lot of times people will have headaches and they'll call the headaches like my headache. And they'll talk about the headaches, and everything they do is to get rid of the headache. And every treatment they do is for the headache. So they end up having the headache for a really long time, and it never goes away, and it becomes a chronic condition. Instead of a different way of talking about it would be not about the headache, not owning the headache. It's just something that's temporary, but trying to have that clear head, that clear mind, and moving and doing interventions that are going to cultivate the clarity of mind, the pain-free version of yourself, and talking about it in that way. And that's going to actually lead you on a completely different path. Does anybody have any questions about this so far? If you do, raise your hand. I'm happy to answer.
I don't think anybody has a question just yet, but to me it just seems like there's many different ways to approach healing, and you can take one or you can take three, but it really just has to be what works best for the person that's healing or the person that's in pain. Because you can try surgery, you can try a medical way, but if that doesn't work, then if you're not willing to try something else, like maybe there's an energetic way or a holistic way to do it, then you're leaving out different modalities of healing.
Well, look, it's all energetic and it's all holistic, all of it, even the surgery, even the drugs. That's why we have the placebo effect, right? So people can take a literal drug that has nothing in it and think that it does, and it will get them better. And there are studies on this that show that placebo is just as effective as a lot of drugs that people take on a daily basis, and maybe they don't actually need that drug. So why does it even work? Because they have a belief that this drug is going to work so well that it's going to solve their problems. So when they take it and put it in their mouth and swallow it, they go through that physical action. That's enough for their brain to say, oh, great, I have something that's going to heal me. And then it releases all the chemicals and in the exact right amounts and all the neuro impulses to heal whatever that drug, that pill said it was going to do for you, even though there was absolutely nothing in it. And that works for a lot of people, and it works on a lot of drugs just as effective as the actual drug. So you don't actually need that pill, is what I'm saying. But it also works in the opposite way. So if you have a strong belief that a surgery is not for you, or a drug is not for you, and you go and do that drug and you don't go and do that surgery. I actually had somebody this morning who had a knee replacement surgery who is also a Reiki practitioner and works at a crystal shop and does all this stuff. And they only had that knee surgery because the surgeon told them that they needed it. Guess what happened? 2 months later, 3 months later, still not recovering, knee's totally swollen, and it's not healing. So that person did something against their belief system, and it manifested itself in their body as a knee that's not healing. So you have to recognize what your actual belief systems are and then do the according treatment. But at the same time, there are a lot of people that go and get those, they believe that, and I'm not saying surgery is not the answer for some people. They believe that that is the answer for them. So they go down that path and they have a great recovery, right? But then at the same time, then they didn't fix what caused that, let's do the knee, what caused that knee to be dysfunctional in the first place. Maybe there's a concept mentally that's causing the body to hold tightness in that knee. So great, initially they replaced the knee, they fixed the physical thing, but then later on down the road, it comes back or it moves somewhere else. And then they end up needing another surgery or they go on another drug, right? Because they're stuck in a system that's constantly leading them towards like that the answer is outside of themselves in order to heal. So they're going to manifest a life of looking outside of themselves to actually heal, and they actually don't ever heal. They end up, typical of most people in America, on like 5 different medications. They have to go to their doctor every 6 months or sooner for a checkup to see if anything broke on them, and then they call it wellness. Well, that's not actually wellness, right? That's, let's see if something broke, and it's not maintenance, because they're not actually looking to see if you're healthy, they're looking to see if you're sick. Does that make sense?
Yes, and it seems like what you're getting to as well is, especially with the placebo effect, it all starts and grows within the mind. So if we believe that we're not well, we won't be well. If we believe that we're getting better, we're getting better. And there's even, I've seen a documentary about oh man, I can't remember the name of the documentary, but a spinal surgeon had some issues with his back, and he had caused himself to walk again, but all he had to do was manifest or visualize his spine for weeks and weeks and weeks on end, and he got it to work. So it really, like, even with the placebo effect, we get to this point where, you know, if we believe it's going to help us, it helps us. And then what you talked about is, if we go against what we think is going to help us, then it does the opposite. Like, we're doing something that we shouldn't, so it kind of does the opposite of helping us. It ends up hindering our health.
Well, here, look. I love that you went there with the spine, because, and maybe I should have started here, but everything is energy, right? And you can say that from like a woo-woo perspective, but actually from a physical perspective, everything is energy. Down, if you take your body and you go down to the smallest particle of what you actually are, down to the smallest particle of what makes up every single cell in your body, we all are made of the same stuff that everything is made out of: electrons, protons, and smaller, even way smaller particles that are literally all just densities of energy, wavelengths of energy, wavelengths of light. That's it, right? So everything is actually energy. And now they've done experiments on this where they've taken frogs and they've run different frequencies through the tadpoles as they were growing into frogs, and they were able to, with just frequency, make them grow a limb where the limb should not be. So what is that saying for ourselves? So that's saying that everything physical is actually following an energetic frequency, an energetic pattern, and that's what physically is going to manifest. And what causes those energetic patterns a lot of times is our emotions and our mind. Sometimes it's something outside of us, like maybe a cell phone tower or whatever, but it's really that internal energy and that internal frequency that even made us in the first place. We all started out as a single cell in our mother's womb. A sperm and an egg came together, and those cells differentiated into every single different cell in our physical body, into our human body, and made us us. And on top of that, every single minute of every single day, those cells are even creating new cells, getting rid of the old ones and replacing them. And you are literally becoming a new person all the time. You are not a thing, you are an event. You are constantly happening all the time. So what we have to do is tell those cells what to be. And we're always telling those cells what to be, and they always need information on should they be healthy or should they not. And the way that we tell those cells is through physical, through our movement, through what we're ingesting in our body, through our thoughts and our emotions. And then those cells are going to be a representation of those three things. So if we're not doing something that is giving those cells the right information to be healthy, then what's going to happen? We're going to manifest and create unhealthy cells. And then over time, those unhealthy cells will result in an unhealthy body. That makes sense? So everything's following energy, and you can even see in a lot of people's in their spine, like our spine, brain and our spinal cord is literally an electromagnetic producing thing. And then we see people with spines that are twisted and bent forward, right? So what is it? Are their spines following the energetic frequency of their brain and their spinal cord? Maybe, probably, because then we can see and look in their lives of different things and their personality of things that are happening. And through some ancient wisdom, through maybe the chakra systems or meridians or something like that, through these different systems, match and see where these things are manifesting in their lives and their personalities versus what those systems say and the distortions actually within their spine. It's because it's all following energy. So when I'm saying about the intervention, that if we want the highest probability for health to occur, then when we're doing whatever intervention it is, you could be doing acupuncture, you could be doing Reiki, whatever it is, you have to work on all three of these levels, the physical, the mental, and the emotional, so that way the cells that your body is constantly reproducing are going to produce the healthy cells. That's why most practitioners don't have a consistent they don't have consistent results in their practice, right? Every single person that comes to them doesn't get results. Well, I mean, that's not true for everybody. I mean, I have a majority of people that come to me get results. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else. What I'm saying is you have to work on all three levels to improve the probability that you're going to get results for somebody no matter what the intervention is. So you have to know how you're speaking to yourself, how you're thinking about it. Are you going to get that knee surgery because it's going to help you run, or it's going to help you exercise every single day and do all the things that you're going to do anyway to be healthy? Are you going to give yourself the right nutrients? Are you going to think more positively and live on like a higher emotional vibration? You're not going to look at things in like a negative way, because you can go down two paths. You can literally lead yourself towards disease, which we see with a lot of people, right? We see a lot of people as they age, they get things. And then we see some people, for some reason, they age slower, where it almost looks like they're aging in reverse. Like what is actually happening there? Because some people energetically are leading themselves towards health, and majority are leading themselves towards disease. Does that make sense? Do you have any questions about that?
So I guess my question is, because we're aging anyway, do you think that people age when we age and head towards disease, it's because we're automatically
No.
prone
Okay.
to believe that we have to age older and things have to happen?
It's not just a belief. So a lot of aging, some of it is they believe they're going to have these things and they have them. They manifest them. So they're doing that with the conscious mind, right? But some of it, a lot of it is our relationship to time itself. That affects how we heal. So what do I mean? I'll have to backtrack a little bit here. So there's two forces in the universe, right? There's the force of entropy that everybody's heard about probably, that goes from organized to disorganized, from organized to chaos. But there's also another force, that's the organizing principle, that goes from chaos and puts things together, like taking that cell from nothing and putting it and creating a human body. We're creating everything around you. So we have the creative force and we have the destructive force, and they both exist and we need them both. Whenever we do something consciously, we're activating that destructive force, going from organized to chaos. So when we're thinking about ourselves in the future, when we're actually even doing anything, our body's going to, when we worry, when we're stressed, when we're really focused on the past, when we're really worried about the future, we're going to age faster. Everybody already knows this. They know that stress causes disease. Stress causes aging. Why? Because you're focused on a future event. You're worrying about a past thing. You're having anxiety about the past, depressed about the past, anxiety about the future, depressed about the future, whatever it is, and you're not focused on the present moment. You're not focused on now. What we've seen through research on meditation, is that when you're able to get into a fully present state, when you're in that kind of like state of oneness, when you're not worried about the future, we're not worried about the past, what happens is, so that we have every single cell in our body has what's called telomeres on our chromosomes. And as the cells replicate, they get a little bit shorter. And that determines how many times that cell can replicate. And it's kind of like an indicator of aging. But what happens is almost magic, is that we're in that oneness state for a long enough period of time, those telomeres start to lengthen. So magically, the cells generate more ability to regenerate by being out of the way, by being in that present moment, by getting out of the way. So in the beginning, when I said there's 3 blockages that cause disease, whether in our physical body or mental body or emotional, we don't have to really do anything except remove what those blockages are. Whether it's our physical body, maybe we have a toxin we're ingesting in, remove it. The body will heal, just like the cut. Take the knife out of the cut, then it's going to heal. If you leave it in there, it's going to fester, it's going to cause even more disease, it's going to go septic, right? If it's something with how we're moving, we remove the blockage and the body will heal itself. It's something in our nervous system, we remove it and the body will heal. If it's something in our mental, we have to let go of whatever that concept, that belief is, and then we'll magically feel better. If it's something emotional, like those emotions that get stored in our body, we have to do something that's going to allow us to feel that emotion, so then we can let it go and move through us, because that emotion is just representing energy, and the reason why they get stored in our bodies is because we're holding on to them. The way that you release them is by acknowledging them and allowing them to move through. And then once they move, Shonda has a question. Once they move, then you remove the blockage, and then the body does, that creative force does what it's supposed to do. And then we can apply that to other things in our life. How many of you have ever wanted to be in a relationship with somebody, and you wanted it so bad, you almost created like a block, and then it didn't happen. And then as soon as you just were like resigned to just whatever, I'll just let whatever happens, that right person shows up in your life. Or with a job, you wanted the job so bad, you go on like a billion interviews, and then you're just, I guess it's not for me. And then all of a sudden the right job shows up. That's all has to do with energy, and we can apply these ways that our body actually heals in our life to have a better life. So I know Shauna had a question. I saw that.
I
Does
was
anybody
just
have a
going.
question?
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, how do we get rid of some of these negative beliefs that we have especially when many of them are probably lying in our subconscious and we don't even know how to maybe access those to be able to acknowledge them and get rid of them.
Okay, so part of it is not getting rid of them, because one thing one of my mentors told me, which was like kind of blew my mind, but when you really think about it, it's totally true. We've heard about limiting beliefs, but the truth is that all beliefs are limiting, right? So every single belief is going to limit you in some way. So what we have to do is replace that smaller limiting, whatever the limitation was that's limiting you in a big way, with a bigger concept, with a less limiting way of looking at it. So if you have like something that you know that's like limiting you, that you noticed, we could just create a bigger concept right now for you to see it in a different way, like a bigger perspective, and you immediately open that up. It's not really, it's more like alchemy. You're taking like lead and turning into gold instead of just trying to get rid of the belief. You have to replace it with something that's a little bit more logical, but also from a higher perspective. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah, and look, it's a practice. Like you're not gonna be able to change everything all at once or exactly know what the specific thing you need to change is. You're just gonna have to develop practices that, and almost like an awareness of it, like, whoa, what am I doing? I'm like, I'm the one that's preventing any of this stuff from happening. So all I need to do is just get myself out of the way. And then almost like the belief will kind of like manifest itself and you'll see it. And then you can create a different concept. And sometimes working with somebody that has an outside perspective will allow you to do that as well. So yeah, there's different ways for sure.
Do you have like an example of like either getting out of your own way or replacing a limiting belief with a higher perspective belief, I guess?
Yeah. So like just the feeling like the belief that you need to get rid of something because you think it's not for it, like you think it's not good for you. Like I need to get rid of this, right? I need to get rid of this person that's in my life because they're holding me back from my dreams. Instead of a better belief would be like, I don't need to get rid of this person. I need to accept who this person is and how they're showing me something about myself. It's a different way of looking at it, right?
Yep.
Or what even that like, yeah.
Sorry, even if they're hurtful?
Even if they're hurtful, is that what you said?
Yeah, and toxic.
So
That's-
there's no such thing, right? So if they're hurtful, they're hurt, like just like pain in your body is telling you something about yourself, right? So like you have pain in your leg and then you look at your leg and you're like, oh man, something stabbed me while I was hiking down a trail. I need to do something about that. So that pain is telling you something about yourself. And as long as that pain is there, whatever they're bringing out in you is still there. And I know it's not popular to talk in that way or think about it in that way, but if you have that different perspective of everyone is telling you something about yourself, then you tend to hold things against them less, and you tend to hold things against yourself less, and you tend to be more open with everyone around you and less closed off. So it might be hurtful at the time, and maybe you need to get out of this situation for a little bit because you haven't been able to fully accept that perspective yet. But I guarantee you, once you do, how they show up will be different, and how you approach them and how they interact with you will be different. Because the idea of even toxic and hurtful people is still not seeing everybody as one. It's still not seeing everybody as just people. It's not having compassion. It's seeing everyone and everything as separate instead of everything and everyone as part of you too. And when we see everyone as part of us, it's like you can't help but want to help them. Because if they're hurting you, that means they hurt inside too, right? So we help them, we help ourselves.
Can it be the opposite way around? If we help ourselves, we help them?
Absolutely. Works both ways.
I mean, that's something that I've just learned recently, because usually it's, you know, it's the idea of like, you have to get this toxic person out of your life, or if somebody's hurting you, get them out of your life. But in reality, I'm starting to see exactly what you're saying is like they're mirroring something that you need to work on in yourself. So yeah, for the moment, you may have to get yourself out of that situation, but what were they trying to mirror for you? So that it helps you, and if you can heal from that situation, you can help them, even if you don't ever talk to them again, even if you're never going to be in that situation with them again, you still work on yourself.
And look, here, I think this might help. This is maybe even totally off topic what we're talking about, but just like how only 5% of our conscious mind is who we are, 95% is running the show, right? So a lot of times people will say things to you and you listen to their words about what they're saying and you think that's what they're actually saying to you instead of seeing behind the words, because everything that they're saying to you is a program. If they're not awake and they're not aware of what they're saying and they're not coming from a conscious place, they're just saying a program. They're just saying what they think that they should say to you based off of their childhood upbringing. And they're just hurt children saying these things to you because they're hurt inside. So instead of, and I have to do this all the time when people come to me in pain, they tell me all these stories. You have to do this where you can't always listen to exactly the words they're saying. You have to be able to listen to what's coming actually from behind the words. What are they actually trying to say to you? Do you understand?
Yes. Yeah. It also works with ourselves as well, because if we're telling ourselves something that keeps us down or keeps us in a different state of mind, then we have to figure out why we're telling ourselves
Like
that specific
you
thing.
mess up a project and you
Yeah.
say to yourself, I'm so stupid. I can't believe I did that. You have to stop yourself and say, whoa, why did I say that to myself? Do I actually think I'm stupid? Do I actually think I'm not intelligent enough to do this? Probably not. So what is that even coming from? Oh, that's something from in my childhood that someone said to me, and that's what I thought I should say to myself because I messed up. And then magically you stop saying it to yourself because you realized that it's not even yours. It didn't even come from you. And then you see that in other people. They say these things to us and they're hurtful because they're just trying to fit in. They're just trying to understand who they are, why they're here. And they're not even conscious of what they're saying and their patterns and their programming because it's stuff that they got from their parents and their parents got from their parents. And no one ever did the work on themselves. And you have the opportunity to break that pattern right now. And
Perfect
all of these
example.
things, all of these ways of being, they all manifest in our body in the form of some kind of disease. That's on the mental, emotional level. So as you do that work, you're going to also heal yourself too. Healing's going to happen faster.
Do you notice, so my question is, because you're working with a bunch of people, do you notice people gravitating towards working on the emotional or versus this physical part of them, like realizing that a pain could be more emotional or pain could be from a specific state and time that they just have to access and let go?
What do you mean?
I mean, so like somebody comes to you with like back problems or shoulder problems and they've had shoulder problems forever. And they've tried everything physical to heal, to get over it. Do you notice that they're trying to find a different way to either access what the pain is about or how to get over the pain?
So sometimes people have these problems because they're told first, like a couple things, that it's a family history. They're going to have these problems, right? Or they're told by some doctor, you have this disease. And now they're constantly trying to look for a way to not have this condition, this disease, this whatever it is. And they end up feeding it. And the disease thing is getting worse because they're running away from it. Instead of saying, oh, these are the things that you need to do to be healthy, they're trying to do things to get away from the disease. And they end up making the disease worse. They reinforce it. So it happens in psychiatry, psychology, all that stuff, where people have these traumas and they're trying to do things to get rid of the trauma instead of trying to do things to have a healthy, free life. So they end up strengthening that trauma bond, whatever it is. Instead of leading themselves towards health, they lead themselves towards disease. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yeah, it does.
Right? So if you're trying to work on some specific emotion, some specific thing that happened, you're going to end up reinforcing it. So you have to take yourself to where do you actually want to be? It's almost like manifestation, kind of. You have to see what you want to happen, that you want, that you're moving towards health, that every single day you're getting better and better. Versus I have this disease and I'm trying to get rid of it. And I went to 97 doctors and they all told me different things. And it doesn't seem like it's getting any better and it's getting worse. How many have heard this story, or maybe it's happening to you?
Yeah, that's true. There's tons of stories of people having something and doctors just telling them they're fine, but they're so convinced that something is wrong that they're not listening to the key word of you're fine or nothing is wrong when they're believing that something is wrong.
Well, because some doctor told them they weren't fine.
Yeah.
It's not all the doctors that told them that there's nothing wrong, because some doctor told them that there's something wrong, or they didn't tell them this is what's wrong, and here's a clear path on how to fix it. If you tell somebody that there's something wrong or there is something wrong, you also need a clear path on where do you go. It's not just denial. It's not just bypassing of like, hey, there's nothing wrong with you. It's like, oh, there is something wrong, but it's not wrong because we can fix it. And we've done it for many other people. And these are the steps that we're going to take. And at the end of this, you're going to have perfect, let's say, digestion issue. You're going to have perfect digestion. You're going to be able to eat things that you haven't been able to eat in years and be totally fine and not end up in the bathroom. How does that sound? Great. So this is what we have to do. How many doctors have ever created that path for you? Probably almost zero. They just go, yep, you need this drug, you need the surgery, or just change your diet, just lose weight. They discount what's actually going on. And I'll find with a lot of people, as I'm working on them, working with them, they'll start talking about things that have nothing to do with what we're doing, and they'll release emotions, they'll release mental stuff, and then they feel lighter, and then their body gets better, and then they heal because we're also created a physical path for the healing.
That's fair. So thank you so much. I actually just wanted to give, we have a couple minutes left. I wanted to see if anybody has any questions or has any statements or just comments before we run out of time, and just extend a thank you for coming and spending some of your busy day with us and just being able to provide a really informative talk to everybody who joined and everybody who might see this online later.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And I mean, look, I'm still here. Like, if anyone has any questions, even right now, I'm happy to go over and answer them because I want to help. I don't want people to just be sitting there thinking that there's not an answer or solution for them and they don't have hope. Because there's always a way. Everything's always working out for you. And there is an answer for everything that's going on.
Totally agree. Yeah, so if anybody has any questions, comments, statements, go ahead. You can just unmute yourself or raise your hand and
I
we'll
just
get to
wanted to, oh, sorry. I just wanted to say thank you. And I feel like this has really helped me to take way more of a holistic view of my health and everything. And really taking inventory of all the things that I've been told or by doctors or anyone, and just taking inventory so I could begin to walk more towards healing,
Yeah.
and
I mean,
acknowledge these things.
Shawanda, you're already healing. Like healing is your natural state. That's your natural state of being. You look at a baby, right? They're happy, they're healthy, they don't care about what's going on in the world. That's our natural state. That's how we're supposed to be. When we get out of the way, when we let our mind out of the way, our emotions out of the way, we cleanse our bodies, it's inevitable.
Yeah.
So you're already healing. It's already you already have that within you.
Nice. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for showing up and
Yeah.
asking. Appreciate it.
Glad I did.
Well, if nobody has any other questions, do you want to be able to either leave your email address or a way to get in contact with you, or just give it to me and I can send an email out after? So if people watch this again and they may have questions, they can email you or?
You can email me or like you can find me on Instagram at Dr. DiMarco, DrDiMarco, and also Facebook. And I mean, I answer pretty much everyone that messaged me or leaves me a comment. So I'm happy to do it.
Okay.
Because,
Cool.
yeah.
I heard somebody. I guess not.
Cool.
So I'm gonna wrap it up then, and thank you again to everybody for showing up. Again, this is recorded. I'll send out a follow-up email, and I'll be able to send it to you, Dr. DiMarco. But I really appreciate you spending your time with us, providing a really informative talk, and just being able to talk more about healing. But when it comes to basically body, mind, and soul, so I do appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Everybody have a beautiful day, beautiful evening, and we'll talk later.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.